In Tug von dem Dien Teure hat verspätigt mitten Aufstehen. On the day of the rabbinic council, he was late getting up. Upgezogen mit den Davenen und gehalten in ein Unterspringen. He was busy with his davening, with his prayers, and he kept jumping up and down. Wie sein Natur is base, is stark aufgeregt. And he did it according to the way he did things when he was very excited, when his Jetzt hat schon ungetun den Mantel. Well, now he put on his coat, glätt the board, combed or patted his beard, und geht noch als nicht, but he doesn't go yet. Die einiglich sein Tochter Cyrilla's Mädelach, the grandchildren, his daughter Cyrilla's little girls, kriechen seine Fies, creep around his legs, wie riesig hochseilen, like high pillars, und schreien arauf zu him and yell up to him, Seide, Grandpa, Grandpa. Sie wissen, als der Seide hat a neue, wenn sie reißen ihm bei der board. They know that their grandfather enjoys it when they pull on his beard und zuppen ihm die Payas and pull on his side curls, his payas. Nor heint nimmt sie nicht auf die Hand. But today, he does not pick them up in his arms. Mit amul fällt Reb Asher Anschlin ein, als der Sohn und sein Edem sollen mitgehen. After a while, Asher Anshel realizes that his son and his son-in-law should go with him. The junge Leute seinen verchidischt. The young people, young relatives, are surprised. Doch tun sie sich unwarten, but they get dressed and they wait. Dabei stehen euch sein Rebbitzen. Meanwhile, also the Rebbitzin, the rabbi's wife, gets up, und die Tochter and his daughter as well. Reb Asher Anshel guckt herunter auf die Einiglich. Rabbi Asher Anshel looks down at the grandchildren by seine Fies, who are crawling around his feet. Und gleich noch tut a guck auf sein Edem Fischl Bloom. And immediately after, he gives a look, he looks at his son-in-law, Fischl Bloom. Fischl is a younger man mit fleischige, dicke Lefzen. Fischl is a young man with meaty, thick lips, mit frische, volle Backen, with fresh, full cheeks, und mit a breite, one second, und mit a breite, gedichte, schwarze Bord, and with a broad, thick, black beard. Was wächst ihm rein bis in die Augen, which grows up to his eyes, Seine Augen große und keilichdicke. His eyes big and square. Schmeicheln keseder. They smile as usual. Und quellen un. And they seem to be enjoying themselves. Reb Asher Anschel versteht nicht, verwus der Edem quält nicht. Asher Anschel, Rabbi Asher Anschel doesn't understand why his son-in-law is not so delighted. Efsche von dem, was hat drei Mädlach, maybe because he has three little girls, und nicht keine Jüngel, and not one boy. Efsche is auf ihm a Simcha, was hat noch besitzt kein Rabbonis nicht gekrugen. Perhaps it is, he's happy that not until now he hasn't gotten a rabbinical position. A mensch mit der selche dicke Lefzen, a person with such thick lips, soll auf der Bime nicht kennen ausreden kein Wort. Shouldn't be able to get on the Bima and say at least say a word. A heintige Rov darf euch sein a Baldroschen. A rabbi of today also needs to be able to be a preacher, to give talks. Tracht Rabbancher Asher Anschel. That's what Rabbi Asher Anschel thinks. Und tut mit Roigze a cook euch offen Sohn. And he looks with anger, he gives a look with anger to his son. Der Sohn Yosela, a Numen Nochen Zayden, his son Yosela, who was named for his grandfather, is a bocher von a Yor 18, is an 18-year-old boy mit a länglicher blasser nose, with a long pale nose, mit gekreuzte schwarze Haar, with curly black hair, und mit a rabbonisch Beichel, and the belly of a rabbi. Wie es passt for a bocher, was kennt zwei Sidurim Gemora, which is how it should be for a boy who already knows two of the portions of the Gemara. Redt knapp. He speaks little und halt ständig heruntergelost die Augen, and he always keeps his eyes down, wie der Tate Reb Asher Anschel hat zum Sohn. Exactly how his father, Rabbi Asher Anschel, does to the son. Gornit, befeirish, gornit. Nothing, clearly nothing. Nor heint los der ois zu ihm der kas. But today he lets out him the anger, was trokt oifen Adam, the anger that he feels against his son-in-law. Vus kalopst du die nose? Why are you picking your nose? Yosela git sich aj a treisel. Yosela begins to shudder von Schreck, from fear, und der Eretz waren Taten, and also out of respect for his father. Seine Schwester Cyrille, a breite, a schwerlebige, mit blonde Haar. His sister Cyrille, a heavy set, with blonde hair, blue Augen und mit a kurz, breit, verrissen nasal, and with a small, wide, haughty-like nose, wie by a shiksa, like a shiksa type nose, by a non-Jewish girl. Tut a cook mit tarumas auf ihr Mann, and she looks at her husband ready to complain. Sie der fehlt gleich als Hotch der Tata read zu ihr Bruder. She feels that the father is speaking to his brother, is addressing his brother, meint ihr Mann, but she actually means and is talking about her husband.
No, to her brother.
Oh, it seems like the father is talking to her brother, but actually what he's saying is meant for her husband. Die einzige, wo's verliert sich nicht, the only one who doesn't get lost, is the alte Rebbitzin, is the old Rebbitzin, the rabbi's wife. Sie is a breite, dicke Jidine. She's a broad, fat Jewish woman, a Schleberike, a Schleberike mit a verkrimmt Punem. I forgot what the word Schleberike means.
Insubstantial.
Oh, substantial, a heavy set.
No,
Okay.
no, insubstantial. Lacking substance.
Oh, weak. Is that it? Weak? I had written that down.
Yeah, could be weak.
Yeah, okay. A Schlaberike, a weak, mit a verkrimmt Punem, with a scrunched up face von Podagra. Her face is deformed by gout. Und der Schädel ist bei ihr ständig herabgerückt bis die Augen, and her wig, her Schädel, is always pulled over to her eyes. Was zitterst du so? How come you're shaking so? Sucht sie zum Mann, she says to her husband, und ruckt auf dem Schädel hecher auf den Kopf, and she moves her Schädel, her wig, higher up on her head. Die Rebbitzin is a kriegerische. The Rebbitzin is a feisty, und einmal is feisty. Und einmal Rosh Hashanah hat sie a rumgewiesen Kriegerischkeit. And one time on Rosh Hashanah time, she showed her fighting nature, a viele gegen dem Rabbeinu Shalom, directed at God, directly at God. Oib Weiber seinen alpiti nit mechoiv. If women are, according to law, not required hearing Schäuferblusen, and it's not required that they hear the shofar blown, darf man nicht, they don't need to, hat sie gesucht und ist nicht gegangen in Schule rein. And she said that, and then she didn't go to the synagogue to hear it. Reb Asher Anschlen gefällt ständig, wo sein Rebbitzin ist Asa Steifer. Rabbi Asher Anschel likes the fact that his wife is such a tough person. Nor heint tut afil nit kein schmeichel, but today he doesn't even give a smile. Und schreit zum Sohn, and he yells to his son, "Was glotzt du? Komm schon. What are you staring at? Come on." Von ein Seite der Sohn, von der zweiter Seite der Edom. On one side is his son, and the other side is his son-in-law. Los sich Rab Asher Anshel gehen wie zu der Ekte. And so Rabbi Asher Anshel goes as if he's going to the slaughter of Isaac. Sein
Akeda. It's pronounced Akeda.
Okay, oh, Akeda. Okay. Wie zu der Akeda, as though we were going to the binding of Isaac. Sein Weib, die Tochter und die Einiglich begleiten ihm bis zu der Tür. His wife, his daughter, and his grandchildren walk along with him to the door. Mit der zellige Peinemen, with such faces, wie und nicht der Politzker Dayan, as though he and not the Politzker judge wollt sich bedarf stellen für a mishpat, as though he was the one to give a judgment, who would
Yeah,
need the judge.
to be judged.
Oh, wollt sich bedarf stellen. Oh, is he would have to stand up to be judged, or put himself to be judged. Auf dem Weg halt in ein Unterspringen on as they go along. He keeps on jumping up and down. Und redt nicht euch zum Sohn, and he doesn't speak to his son. Und Adam kein ein Wort, or his son-in-law not one word. Aber wenn kommt rein in Gessel von Tzedakah Gedula, but when he comes to the street of the rabbinic count, how would you translate that?
The central charity organization.
Oh, charity organization, werd ihm plotzim freilicher. And then suddenly he becomes happier. Der seht de Moira Heure. He sees the judge, the rabbi, von Trocker Gas, who's from Trocker Street. Reb Asriel Reb Hasriel Kahana, Rabbi Kasriel Kahana, was geht euch in Beis Din Stiebel, who's also going to hear the judgment. Reb, what's the pronunciation of the name?
Kasriel.
Kasriel, I was right. Reb Kasriel Kahana is a Heucher Yid mit a Reuter board. Reb Kasriel Kahana is a tall Jew with a red beard. When stellt a trot, when he starts walking, stellt keinmal nit a Reus dem Fuß mehr wie auf a halbe Span. So when he gets ready to walk, he never puts out his foot more than as though he were doing a half a step. Dabei geht sich a Weg ahinter, and so he turns back around, wie wollt gelegen in a Schockelstuhl. And so he turns around as though he was in a revolving chair, und sich pamelech zugeschockelt, as though he had slowly turned around. Also wie versteht gut in Geschäftssachen, since he understands a lot about business things, store matters, business matters, und is a kluger, and he's a smart guy, in sein Beis Harov ständig gepackt, ist sein Beis Harov ständig gepackt mit Seuchen. So his rabbinical house is always full of merchants. Is a borer. He's a judge, a shlish, somebody who gives an additional opinion. Would that be like a third opinion?
Like an arbitrator.
Like okay, so a borer is an arbitrator, and a shlish, it
I
seems.
think it's the other way. A borer is a mediator. I don't know what the difference between one is the mediator and the other is the arbitrator. Borer, mediator.
Well,
shlish, arbitrator.
they settle business questions to
Yeah,
it.
setting, that's right.
Yeah. Unverdient mehr von drei. Oh, lost my place.
Vilner,
Unverdient mehr von drei Vilner Rabbonim in einem, and he earns more than 3 Vilna rabbis altogether. Halt nicht kein droshes, he doesn't give any lectures. Sucht nicht kein Torah, he doesn't read the Torah. Und ad hayom weiß man nicht, sie is full von der Mizrahi oder von der Aguna. And until today, one doesn't know if he represents the religious Zionists or the Orthodox. Man sucht auf ihm, they say about him, as hurtavnikas, wholesalers, nemen im for a shutiv, take him as a partner in their Geschäften, in their businesses, mach me sein Mevines auf Schora und kluge Eitzes, because of his understanding of merchandise and his smart answers, Wenn lehnt über a Zeitung, weiß what is that word?
Forois. They said in Forois.
Oh, it's vase. I had something. Okay. When he goes over a newspaper, vase in Parois, he knows immediately, they say, Zuckman, they say, welche Akties es wollen steigen. He knows exactly which things will, which
Shares.
stocks will
stocks will go up. Welche es wollen fallen, which will go down. Und welche Valjote men darf gleich, and which foreign currency men darf gleich, one must immediately verkaufen, sell, or buy to the Bolsheviks. I don't know what Bolsheviks is. Couldn't find it.
the people on the stock market.
Oh, okay. What
Is the stock market.
with Rudnitsker gas, who are located on Rudnitska Street, is im verdruss in Harzen, he feels he's very annoyed, was anstatt sitzen auf a solcherische Boreris, and it annoys him very much that instead of sitting on a business like as a business arbitrator, wird heint darfen sein a schutif auf ein Polis, shofet of, so instead of,
Schäufert, ja. Judge.
he will now have to be a partner with the Politska Dayan. They have to work with the
A judge.
judge, the Politska judge. Der Rebbe, der freit sich mit,
He'll have to be a
he now will be deciding business matters. Is that what
no,
it is?
a Schäufert is a judge.
Mhm.
He's going to be judging rather than being an arbitrator.
Okay. Oh, okay. Der Rebbe, der freit sich mit Rav Asher Anschlen, nicht weniger wie jener mit ihm. And in addition, he is not as happy with Rabbi Asher Anshel any more than the rabbi is happy with him. Beide seinen beste gelassene Jiden. Both are
A teva.
Teva, beide seinen beteva gelassene Jiden. Both are by nature calm people und haben Feind machloikus, and they don't like quarrels. Okay. That's it.
Okay. Reb Shmuel Moinia springt auf und gegen die zwei hereingekommene Chaverim von Wad wie und gegen zwei Melochim. So Reb Shmuel Moinia jumps up moves towards the two members who have just arrived, members of the committee who have just arrived, as if they were two Malachim, two angels. Aber Reb Levi reißt nicht ab die Augen von Sefer, but Reb Levi doesn't tear his eyes off the book, the religious book which is open in front of him. Und hebt sich kaum etwas unter, and he barely raises himself when these other two come in. Sein Ponim wird noch ungedrollener und verschwollener. His face becomes even more swollen. Reb Shmuel Munya, was is bis jetzt gesessen, vereinsamter und teut vermattete von Reb Levis verbissenem Schweigen, nimmt eilig und verschmeiert sich Schuschken mit die zwei Rabbonim. So Reb Shmuel Munya, who was sitting up to that time on his own, and was exhausted from Reb Levi's stubborn silence, he began quickly and busily to whisper with the two rabbis who just walked in. As man darf mit den Polotska Dayan führen Politiker. Und der Vieren, soll sich untergeben mit Guten. So he whispered to the two rabbis that they should act with the Polotska Dayan in a political manner and try and get him to give in amicably. Reb Kasriel Kahana quetscht mit die Achsel, but Reb Kasriel Kahana shrugged his shoulder. Und Reb Asher Anshel hust up, and Reb Asher Anshel, he gave a cough. Beide seinen Maskim, as men darf oismeiden na machloikes. Both of them agreed that one should prevent a conflict. Nor oib Reb Levi hat beschlossen zu gehen mit der ganzen Hardkeit von Din, willen sie sich mit ihm nicht anheben. But if Reb Levi has decided to go with the full force of the law, they will not go against him. Die Eugen reingetan in Rambam wundert sich Reb Levi, verwas der Polotska Dayan is noch nicht da. Reb Levi, with his eyes still deeply focused on the Rambam, was wondering why the Polotska Dayan had not yet arrived. Dem Shaliach hat geantwortet, as wird kommen. He told the messenger that he would come. Und Reb Levi weiß, als ob der Polotska Dayan sagt etwas, is is Makayim. And Reb Levi knows that if the Polotska says something, he will carry it out. Soll viele davon gehen in fire, even if he has to walk through fire. Halevai wollt nicht gewinnen, als oimed bedasoi und Balgaiva, wie es wollt gar nicht gekommen zu der Hantike Asefa. It would that he was not so stubborn and arrogant. If he weren't so stubborn and arrogant, it wouldn't it wouldn't have come to the meeting of today. Es ist kein Schum Vergleich nicht zwischen dem Polotska Dayan und ot die Dayanim was dafen im Mishpatim. There's no comparison between the Polotska judge and these Dayanim, these judges who need to hear his case. They kommen nicht zu seine Knechtlich. They don't come reach his ankles. Reb Kasriel Kahana vernimmt sich mit Beureres. Reb Kasriel Kahana is involved in arbitration. Auf dem bedarf man seiner Rov. Does one need to be a rabbi in order to engage in that? A kluge Seucher kann es noch besser von ihm. If a clever businessman can do it better than him. Reb Shmuel Munya wieder führt Politiker. And Reb Shmuel Munya, he's the one who does the politicking. A Rov darf die erste Sach Achtung geben auf die Jiden von sein Gas. Sie soll nicht Machal Shabbos sein. The first, a rabbi should initially look after or give pay attention to the Jews of his street, that they shouldn't desecrate the Sabbath. Niet essen kein treifes und ophitten tares hamishpocha. That they shouldn't eat non-kosher food and that they should observe family purity. Aber Reb Shmuel Munyev versorgt mit Jiddischkeit ganz Liter, ganz Polen und die ganze Welt. But Reb Shmuel Munyev takes care of Yiddishkeit in the whole of Lithuania, the whole of Poland, and even the whole world. Hat nicht kein Zeit für die Jiden von seinem Gast. So he doesn't have any time for the Jews of his own street, von Gläsergasse, the Glazier Street. Sein Schwager klärt Reb Levi weiter, hat mitgebracht dem Sohn und Edom Farashmira. His brother-in-law thinks, Reb Levi thinks further, he has brought with him his son and his son-in-law as guards. Reb Asher Anshel wollt euch bedarft mitbringen die Tochter, sein Zirele, was schreibt brieflich auf etliche Leschönes für alle Schönes von der Gas. Reb Asher Anshel should have brought with him his daughter, his Zirele, who writes letters in several languages for all the neighbors on the street. Nu ja, mit Reb Asher Anshels Tochter wünschen sich alle Weiber von Gitke Teubes Zevulik. So with Reb Asher Anshels daughter, all the women of Gitke Teubes Eli, they are blessed. These women are blessed with Reb Asher Anshel's daughter. Sie is a frummer und a weltischer. She is both religious and worldly. Reb Levi zuckt die drottene Haar von seinen Bremen. Reb Levi tugs the wiry hair of his eyebrows und schweigt rein in offenem Sefer, and he remains silent and looking into the open book, religious book. Sein gemorrener Schweigen zerlegt sich über den Cheder, verkriecht in die rabbonische Bärd und verklebt wie mit Leim seine Meiler. His gloomy silence, it stretches out over the room and creeps into the rabbinic beards, and it glues shut as if with lime their mouths. Die Tür öffnet sich und auf dem Schwell bleibt stehen Reb David selber. The door opens and on the threshold Reb David selber remains standing. Zit kaum op die Atem, wie wollt gelaufen. He can hardly catch his breath as if he had been running. Reb Levi, was hat sich kaum etwas untergeheben bei es seinen reingekommen seine Chaverim, gibt sich jetzt a Stell auf für sein Baal Machloikes. Reb Levi, who hardly stood up when his two colleagues came in. Now he stands up for his opponent. Dem Ingsten von aller versammelte Rabbonim. So his opponent, who is the youngest of all the rabbis who have gathered. Irot verspätigt, sagt Fischelblum. You late, said Fischelblum. Darf mein scheiner Edem, das ihm sagen? Is it necessary, my son-in-law, is it necessary to say this to him? Klärt Reb Asher Ansel. Und ihm fällt ein, als die Hashgocha Eliona hat gegeben der Katz welche Kischerlech auf ihre Lapkes. So this is what Reb Asher Anshel thinks to himself. Should you have said this to him? And it occurs to him that the divine providence has given a cat very soft pads on its feet, on its paws. Sie soll dort können behalten ihre scharfe Nägel. That for that reason, the cat will be able to hide away her sharp claws. Dieselbe Hashgocha Eliona hat beschonken sein Edem mit a größer gedichte board. And the same divine providence endowed his son-in-law with a big, thick beard, soll können in ihr behalten seine fleischige, dicke Lefzen in die ungestoppte Backen, so that he would be able to hide his, in his very thick beard, his fleshy, thick lips and his stuffed cheeks. Reb Asher Anshel tut a cook mit Reugser auf ein Edem und noch mit mehr Reugser auf ein Sohn. So Reb Asher Anshel looks with anger at his son-in-law and with even more anger at his son. Was ist stehen geblieben hinter Fischels Plätze? His son, who was standing behind Fischel's shoulder. Jossele, der fielt dem Tatens Blick und chabt weg die Finger von der Nose. Jossele senses his father's glance and he takes his finger away from his nose.
Oy.
Der 18-jährige Bucky, the 18-year-old Bucky, can't think of the word.
Expert.
Expert, the 18-year-old expert und in zwei Dorim Gomorrah hat durchgeworfen in Moach dem Seder Nashim. So this the expert in two tractates of the Gomorrah was rummaging through in his mind the whole tractate of Nashim, of women. Und weiß noch als nicht, von wannen der Polotz-Gedeien hat genommen a Heter für an AGUNE, was hat nicht gebracht kein Eides. And having gone through in his mind these two, the whole the whole tractate, he can't work out where the Polotz-Gedeien took based his permission for the AGUNE, the chained woman that who has not brought proper witnesses. Reb David hat verspätigt, weil hat gemusst rufen dem Feldscher zu sein krank Kind. Reb David, he became late because he had to run and call the Feldscher, the folk doctor, for his sick child. Fehlt, als darf sich verentfern. Men soll ihm nicht geuschet sein, als hat nicht kein derecheret ältere Rabbonim. He feels that he needs to respond so that they shouldn't suspect him of not respecting the older Rabbonim. Aber will nicht, men soll auf ihm Rachmonos haben, but he doesn't want them to pity him. Sie können noch meinen, als verläuft sie voraus dem Weg und erzählt wegen sein krank Kind, gedei sie sollen mit ihm haben einsehen. They could possibly think that he is verläuft für sie voraus, that he's trying to ahead of time get them verläufen die Weg, that to try and place put them in the position of telling about his sick child in order that they should give him more consideration. Setzt sich Reb David, sagt Reb Levi on dem minsten Verdruss, was der Polotsker hat gelost warten dem Beis-Din. Sit down, Reb David, said Reb Levi, without the slightest anger that the Polotska Dayan made the whole court wait for him. Der Polotska Dayan sitzt sich herab beim anderen Bregtisch und nimmt nicht heraus die Hände von die Mantelkäschnes. The Polotska Dayan sat down at the other end of the table and he didn't take his hands out of his coat pockets. Wie wollte sich zugesetzt bloß auf ein Reger, as if he had was only sitting down for a moment. Was, Reb David, tut nicht aus die Eberbeget, fragt Reb Levi unmutig und freundlich. Why, Reb David, don't you take your coat off? Asked Reb Levi sadly, but in a friendly way. Wilt mit eurer Chaverim von Wad a viele nicht führen kein Schmurs? Don't you want to discuss anything with your colleagues on the committee? Der Polotska Dayan nimmt heraus die Hand von Teschner und knetet zwischen die Finger a Papierl. The Polotska Dayan took out his hand from his pocket and squashed in between his fingers was a little piece of paper. Das ist der Rezept von der Feldscher. This is the prescription of the folk doctor. Was der was der Feldscher hat verschrieben für sein Kind. This is the prescription that the folk doctor had written for his child. Will es weisen, die Rabbonim, und erzählen, für was hat versammelt und für was sie. He wanted to show this paper to the Rabbonim and to tell them why he had arrived late and why he was sitting in his coat. Also wie hat nicht gewollt verspätigen noch mehr, hat dem Rezept nicht gemacht. So that in order that he shouldn't be even later, he did not fulfill the prescription. Muss aber bald zurücklaufen machen dem Rezept, will sagen. But he must very soon run back and fill the prescription he wanted to say. Doch sagt gar nicht und tut euch die Mantel. Nevertheless, he said nothing and he took off his coat. Setzt sich wieder weg auf denselben Ort und legt auf beide Hände auf den Rand vom Tisch. He sat down again in the same place and placed both hands on the edge of the table. Wie wollte äußern gewesen, zu beweisen, als seine Hände seinen rein, as if he was trying to demonstrate that his hands were clean. Okay, Michael.
Der Din Torah, the judgment, dem größten zerackerten Stern, ungespart auf der Hand, schweigt Rabbi Levi mit Schweigen, with his large creased forehead, leaning on, ungespart propped up on his hand. Rabbi Levi is quiet with this troubled quietness. When weiß nicht wo anfangen reden and doesn't know where to start talking. Vieles haben sich in ihm angesammelt. The mans assembled themselves in him. A fass mit pulver, a barrel full of gunpowder, nor is nicht kein fire was all them pulver unsinden, that there's no fire to light the gunpowder. Rabbi Levi krächzt up and fängt an mit a still call. Rabbi Levi groans and starts with a quiet voice, verdrückt von seiner eigener Schwachkeit, pressed down by his own weakness. Der Shochein Marom weiß dem Emes, als hat getan, alles was man kennt on. One who dwells on high knows the truth that he has done everything that is possible. Der Innern von der AGUNE soll nicht werden mefursam, so that the matter of the AGUNE should not become widespread public. Aber die Sache ist bekannt geworden über der Meise in Stadtschule, but the matter has become known through what happened, the doings in the city shul, Chiadua, and as is known, aufgerudert die Stadt, it's agitated the town. Hat Vaad Harabonim kein ander Brere nicht gehad, so the assembly of rabbis didn't have any option via Reusrufen dem Polotskerdien und ihm fragen, auf was war Yesod, hat gebeut sein Hater. So the committee of rabbis had no other option but to call out the Polotsker judge and ask him on what basis he established the permission he gave for the woman to get married. Whether if he has a proper foundation, wollen die Rabbonim sich freuen, allemen modir sein, als die Agune hat gemetchassen haben, und es wird sein Shalom al Yisrael. And if it has a solid foundation, correct foundation, the rabbis will be very happy to let everyone know that the Agune was permitted to get married, and there will be peace on Israel. People can settle down. Rab Levi guckt auf Rabbi David as selber mit an ausgeleitet von ihm. Rabbi Levi looked at David Silver with an encouraging face. Wir wollt sicher gewinnen, als bald wird David als verändern, und man wird sich zu gehen zufriedener. That he was sure, as if he was sure, that soon Reb David will be able to justify everything, and people will be able to go their separate ways satisfied. Euch die andere Morei Horaot am Tisch gucken auf den Polotzker mit groß Erwartung. And the other important rabbis around the table looked at the Polotzker with great expectations. And by Josela of Asher Anschels is die längliche Bleiche Noos geworden, von Auflegung noch länglicher und bleicher. And with Josela, the son of Rabbi Asher Anshel, the long, pale nose from excitement got longer and paler. Wart auf gewaltige Chidushim. He is waiting for just amazing novelties or something new. Rab David and fantastic. Rab David answers quickly. Bei ihm ist kein Seifik nicht, als die Agune that the Agune is allowed to remarry. Sie seien vorbei über anderthalben ständigen Jahr sind ihr Mann ist weg in der Milchome und ist nicht zurückgekommen. Already more than 15 years have passed since her husband went off to war and has not returned. Just Rolf mentioned the majority of people, ob sie kommen nicht von Weg zurück daheim, if they don't return from where they've gone, is as simon as they seien gestorben. Well, the path that he took, which was to war, it's a sign that they have died. Und als Rolf mentioned, was kommen nicht daheim von Koma, and the majority of people who don't come back from war, is it Safada Mahmat Mita? Is it definitely because of, and the people who do not return from war, it's definitely because of death. Is Venezuela and door, I'm not sure what that is. Tre Robé, Oben nicht winzig von die Achronim Matir gewen Anaguna. And when it was, does anyone know what Tre Robé is?
It's a majority.
Sorry?
A majority.
And when there are a majority, ob nicht winzig von die Acharonim Matir gewen Anaguna. And if there was a majority, not a few of the later rabbis allowed Anaguna to get married. Medidun didn't, in this case, let's see, is der man von der Agune gewesen in der 11. Rotte von Orenburger Polk, was ist gestanden in Vilna. In this case, the husband of the Aguna was in the 11th Battalion or something of the Orangeburger Battalion that was stationed in Vilna. Alle wissen, als der Orenburger Polk ist weggereist auf dem ersten Feier und kiemat alle seinen umgekommen. And everyone knows that the Orenburger Regiment went off to Prussia at the first shots of the war, and almost all were killed. Geratevet haben sich sehr wenig, very few were saved. Und diejenigen von Orenburger Polk, was haben sich ja geratevet, haben erzählt noch ad hayom, als von der 11. Rotte ist kein einer nicht geblieben leben. And those who of the Orenburg regiment who actually managed to be saved said that until today, that from the 11th Battalion Regiment, no one remained alive. Darüber haben die Freuen und die umgekommenen jüdischen Soldaten schon lang Chasna gehabt, and therefore the wives of the Jews who were of the killed Jewish soldiers have long ago remarried. Dort nicht wegen die Weiber, was haben Chasna gehabt, und hater. Here we're not talking about the women who got married without a permit. Farsei Artuns nicht. We don't care about them. Zerbrennt sich Rab Levi und das Kohlwerk bei ihm harter. Rabbi Levi gets angry, he gets fired up, and his voice gets stronger. Roret sich wegen Eich. Here we are talking about you. A Vilner Dayan, a judge in Vilna, sie hat ihr gehabt a gesunden Yesod, matir machen die Aguna. Did you have a healthy, a solid foundation to release the Aguna? Wenn ein Isha kommt und sagt, dass ihr Mann ist gefallen in der Mechoma, when a woman comes and says that her husband got killed in the war, sie alpidin nicht begleibt. According to the law, she is not believed. Viele, wenn wir wissen, als zwischen ihr und ihr Mann ist gewesen Shalom, even if we know that there was peace in their house between man and wife. Wie bald sie weiß, als die anderen Männer sein weg in Milchome für ihr Mann und noch ihr Mann seinen umgekommen. When she knows that other men who were off to war before her husband and after her husband seinen umgekommen were killed, them and Miron, we accept, ihr kennt sich ausdachten, als euch ihr Mann ist zwischen die umgekommen. That she can imagine that her husband is also among the killed. Sie ist nicht begleibt, wenn sie sagt, she's not to be believed, even when she says, ich habe ihn makaber gewesen mit die eigenen Hand. I've even buried him with my own hands. Ob sie sagt, dass sie hat ihn makaber gewesen mit die eigenen Hand, is machlokes poskim. If she says that she buried him with her own hands, there is a debate among the poskim, those who interpret the law. Tracht Yosela thinks, und von Groß Hitalut was die ganze Tora steht ihm vor die Augen, springt als unter wie der Tate. And from great excitement that the whole Torah is standing before his eyes, he jumps up and down like his father. In unser Fall sucht euch nicht die Jidene mit Sicherheit, als ihr man ist teut. And in our case, the Jewish woman doesn't tell us with certainty that her husband is dead. Het Fischelbloem hat zerspreit 10 fleischige kurze Finger. Fischelbloem spreads his 10 fleshy short fingers. Der Schwer soll sehen, als sitzt nicht sie stuff kest, so that the father-in-law should see that he is not sitting on his hospitality for nothing, tut in Nederland, but rather that he is involved in studies. Sie sa viel nicht gewinnt kein Brief von Paul as der Soldat is gefallen. There wasn't even a letter from the regiment that the soldier had died. Und das hat euch nicht erzählt, a goy am a certain feet tumor, and even there isn't even a naive report from a Gentile. There are no innuendos. Haklal, the rule, Tit Rab Levi, Tsunoif di Bremen, Rab Levi draws his brows together. Mir wesen niet hoe wordt benoemen aan je sword van eier hater. We do not know where you found the foundation or the reference where you on which you gave permission. In the Torah, and for Rab Levi's zelver niet aan open kop. Rabbi Levi answers with a raised head. Der Mordechai Sophia Yavamus brengt die Shita von Rishon. This I don't know. Mordechai Sophia Yavamot. You know,
I think it's a commentator whose name is Mordechai.
Okay. Brings
That's
the school
the only
of
way I could
thought
understand.
Sorry?
Yeah, that's the only way I could understand it.
Okay.
It's
Well,
a commentator by the name of Mordechai.
okay. Brings the school of thought of the first commentators, Rab Eliezer Mavardun, Rab Eliezer Mavardun, als wenn der Mann fällt rein in Ayam, in Maim She'ein Lahem Sof, that when a husband falls into a sea in water that has no end, tor die Frau nicht hasno haben, so long wie man can, the woman should not get married as long as one can. As we can rechnen, als der Mann hat sich gerettet, as long as one can estimate that the husband has saved himself. Aber wenn es geht darüber a paar Jahre, when kommt nicht zurück, but when a few years go by and he doesn't return, nehmen wir an, als ist tot, we accept that he's deceased. Rabbi Eliezer Mavardun hat auf dem Grund Matir gemacht, a Freu, was ist gewesen an AGUNE bloß 4 Jahre. On this basis, Rab Eliezer Murdun released a woman who was only an AGUNE for 4 years, based die Freu was ich hab Matir gemacht, hat nicht gehört von ihrem Mann über 15 Jahre, whereas the woman whom I have released has not heard from her husband for 15 years. Als Dolei Haposkim haben Matir gemacht, Onedes, many of the great commentators have released without witness, not Leute Savora, und Leute Umdanus, but rather according to opinion and a judicious assessment. Euch der Rasch bringt a tshuva von Rabbeinu Gershom, Meir Hagola wegen Makil sein bei 8 Amil Choma. Also, the Rash brings a response from Rabbi Gershom Meir the Great about what is Makil? Oh, probably comes from Kol, making easier at a time of war. But I stand open to correction. Do you have a different interpretation? Makil.
Make it, yes, to make it easier
Make it easier.
from
Yeah.
kal,
So you agree?
from the word kal, easy.
Yeah.
And this Rabbeinu Gershom, Meor Hagolah, he is the light of the dispersion.
Yeah.
He's one of the very early rabbis, I think 10th or 11th century. And he made many decisions that affected Jewish life in all the subsequent years.
Was he the one who?
He was one of the people.
Yeah, was he the one who introduced monogamy, that you couldn't have polygamy?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Right. Yeah,
Um,
that's him.
That's him. Great. Okay. Anyway, to continue, was tut sich mit euch, Rab David? So what's going on with you, Rab David? Streckt Rab Levi euch beide Hände über den Tisch. Rabbi Levi spreads out both his hands over the table, wie der Plotzgedeien wollt, gegangen, Chorov machen, Welten, as if was destroying worlds. 1000 Jahre wie unsere Rishonim und Acharonim peinigen sich zu gewinnen Heitirim Faragunas. 1,000 years that our early rabbis and later rabbis have struggled to find permission for Agunas. When Eumann wollte gekannt werden of dem, was sagt, and if it was possible to build on what you are saying, Tofar, was seine unsere Rishonim und Acharonim ausgerissen geworden beim Suchen Heiterim. And if that, and if we could build on that which you are saying, then why did our early rabbis and later rabbis, why were they so torn in terms of looking for ways to give permission? Es ist bei uns a Halacha Psuka, als der Dayan is nicht wie Rabbi Eliezer Mavardun. It's a determined law now with us that the law is not according to Rabbi Eliezer Mavardun, whom you quote. Der Beis Yosef is Marish Olamos gegen der Mordechai. The Beit Yosef, which is another commentator, raises Cain gegen der Mordechai, against this Mordechai in Yevamos. und bringt Rishonim noch Rishonim vor seinen Kegen. So he's against this Mordechai from Euphamos and brings evidence from from many early rabbis who are against it. Der Radbaz is Kegen, the rabbi who's known as Radbaz. Do you know who Radbaz is? Jacob, any idea? Or?
No, I didn't check it out. Sorry.
Okay. And of course, Rashi and Tosafot seinen Kegen. Rashi and the Tosafot are also against it. Der Ramban and der Rashba seinen Kegen. Other prominent rabbis like Ramban and Rashba are against it. Alle Rishonim and Acharonim seinen Kegen. All the early commentators and later commentators are against it. Chapzich Rab Levi und beim Kopf, wie der Moach volt ihm geplatzt. And Rabbi Levi grabbed his head as if his brain was bursting inside of him. Aber was Hecher Rab Levi schreit, but the louder that Rabbi Levi shouts, als mehr wird Rab David harter, the more Rabbi David becomes firmer, gepresster, firmer again, redt noch stiller, speaks more quietly, und tritt nicht op von Roseinica, and does not retreat from his opinion. Viele die Poskim was kriegen auf Rob Eliezer Mavardun und halten, als dem Manns nicht zurückkommen ist, noch kein Reihe nicht, als ist tot. Even the interpreters who argue with Rabbi Eliezer Mavardun and hold the opinion that the man's returning is
Not returning.
not returning is no predictor that he is dead. Wollten in unsere Zeiten gehalten anders. Okay. Even the interpreters who argue with Rabbi Eliezer and hold that the man's not returning is no predictive that he is dead would in our times not held differently. They wouldn't have changed their opinions. Let me try it again. They wouldn't have changed their opinions. Some die Acharonim sagen, as in the Amoika Zeiten, a lot of the first commentators say that in past times, wenn die Wegen seien gewesen, belagert mit Gaslonim und kein Post ist nicht gewesen, kein Bahn und Telegraph seien nicht gewesen, dämmelt hat man gekannt trachten, als heute der Mann ist verfallen geworden, kann sein, als lebt. A lot of the later commentators say that in those past times, when the roads were full of thieves, murderers, and no mail was available, and no railway or telegraph was available, then you could think that even though the man has disappeared, it is possible that he was still alive. But in unsere Zeiten, but in our times, when es einen urbanen Post and telegraph, when there are trains and post and telegraph, is nicht gemalt, es sollen herübergehen, als so viel Jorden, wenn der Mann soll nicht können zu wissen tun sein Weib, als lebt. Because of all the modern conveniences, we cannot picture it that so many years should go by and the husband should not be able to inform his wife that he is still living. Der Seichel is mechayev verkehrt. The logic is the opposite. Heeft door Rabbi Asher Anshel por loyal waserdike Augen. Rabbi Asher Anshel lifts up a pair of blue, watery eyes. In unsere Zeiten wollt euch die Amorike Makilim nicht Makil gewähnt. Even in our times, those who made things easier in the past would not have been more lenient. In unsere hofferdicke, in unsere heftige Zeiten rechnen sich junge Leute ganz wenig mit dem Cherem der Rabbeinu Gershom. In our chaotic times, young people really bother very little about the Cherem, what Rabbi Gershom has forbidden. In my practica, in my reality, when I'm a side kitten, as someone who arranges divorces, weiß ich genug Fallen von jungen Leuten. I know enough cases of young people, was haben sich ausbehalten von seinen Weiber, who have hidden themselves from their wives in Erter, wo keiner kennt sie nicht, und dort noch einmal Chasna gehabt, have hidden themselves in places where no one knew them and have married there a second time. Shamati as is gewesen von die Dovtzes. I've heard that he belonged to the rebels. Von Doviets wird ganz wenig mit Peil von Cherem, the Rabbeinu Gershom, and a rebel is very little impressed by what Rabbeinu Gershom forbids. Help Fischl unter sein Schwert. Fischl helps his father-in-law. Der junge Mann ist gewesen stark zugebunden zu sein Weib, und wollte es nicht getan. The young man was very attached to his wife, and he would never have done it. Entwert Rabbi Davi Silver, Rabbi David Silver answers. Reb Chatriel Kahana guckt herunter